Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's video. Going to have a look at the weather for the next week, 10 days. For today's video, day 10 will take us to the 29th of January. And we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles. Very much around a couple of weeks. We'll have a look at the CFSV2 at the end of the video for the next 4 weeks, and that will get us well into February, of course. Wow. I should get time back for you in a moment. Just say about the first video, say was our 6 AM upload, and we've also released, if that wasn't enough, be dropping Outlook, so check out those two if you'd like to do that. We might do Ensembles Watch tonight, not Ensembles Watch live, but we might do a video upload, go through the GFS, as I wasn't able to do that on Mondays. Excuse me, on Monday's live stream. We did Snow Watch on that live stream instead. So, I might make up for that with an upload for Ensembles Watch this evening. How does that sound? Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see Ensembles Watch later. Right, if you'd like to share, subscribe on videos, thank you so much by doing that. Only need to put around 15 subscribers now to get to 15.4k. So if you could give us a sub, it'd be absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Right, we're going to start off with stratospheric developments. Temperatures are beginning to lift up. They're beginning to rise at 10 HPA. So the black line shows where temperatures have been. At 10 HPA, the stratosphere over North Pole and where we currently are versus average, which is the grey line. So currently the temperature at 10 HPA in the stratosphere is still a little bit below average, but it has lifted up quite a bit from where it was a few days ago. A few days ago, we were down around minus 75, something like that. We're now very close to minus 60 and very close to average. So temperatures are lifting up, back close to average at 10 HPA, at 30 HPA. Still very cold there, but a bit of a lift up there as well. We've gone from like minus 85 now to around minus 80. So a gradual recovery in the temperature appears to be taking place in the stratosphere. That's as a result of the first minor warming of the stratosphere that took place over Siberia a few days ago. That's fizzing out now over the Pacific, but it has been enough to, lift the temperature back closer to normal at 10 HPA. Let's have a look at the latest 2 GFS runs in terms of temperature forecast at 10 HPA over the North Pole. Here we go. And you see that in a couple of days' time, around 5 days' time, we're going to get our next major warming over Siberia. So significant warming of stratosphere taking place there. Having no impact on the North Pole itself at this point. We're still under those blue and purple colours over the pole, which is, of course, cold temperatures and the polar vortex at its roots. As we run on into around a week out, we find that warming over Siberia begin to start penetrating in towards the North Pole, starting to displace these blue and purple colours more towards the Atlantic and European side of the Arctic. So by around a week out, temperatures will be up to around minus 30, something like that, in the stratosphere at 10 HPA. That forecast is correct. That will get the black line to around there, probably. The black line will rise to around there in around a week's time, which is quite a significant warming of the stratosphere. But to be an SSW, you've got to go higher than that. You've got to go to like minus 20 or minus 10 up to here. Right, so let's see what happens after that then. So we push on into the day 10 period. The first warming begins to ease off a little bit, but then another warming starts to take place over Siberia right at the end of January. And this becomes a major feature and pushes into the North Pole as well, with those red colours. So I think by this point we probably have a reversal of zone of winds, and I think by this point, we can say we are having SSW if this forecast comes off. On the temperature scale here, I reckon that's going to get the black line somewhere to around there, maybe. So I think that is enough to reverse zone of winds and to say that a sudden stratospheric warming is taking place there over the North Pole. The other one thing we are missing though is the split up PV. Excuse me, you'll notice the blue and the purple colours displace out of the pole into the North Atlantic, into Northern Europe. No sign of a split of PV there up to the 4th of February. It's possible that PV might split after that, but up to the 4th of February, despite the SSW that has taken place, I think, over the North Pole, despite that, the PV is still alive, you know, it's still in business, and it's over on our side of the Arctic. Right, let's have a look at the 6Z run then. So that is the midnight run. This is the GFS 6Z. All much of a muchness over the next week. There's the first significant warming of the stratosphere taking place early next week over Siberia. That does start to pushing towards the pole and begin to displace the stratospheric polar vortex out of the pole into the European and Atlantic side of the Arctic, into the extended range, which is what happens. So secondary warming, again gathering pace just after day 10. That becoming a very significant warming indeed. On the temperature scale with that, if that came off, I reckon on the temperature scale here, that would get the black line probably above -10, get black line up to there, which would that would look very dramatic, wouldn't it? So that again would be, I think we'd be able to classify that as a genuine SSW. I think the zone of wind would reverse with that over the Arctic and North Pole. But again, the one thing we miss is the split of PV. So up to 4th February, polar vortex remains in business over the UK and over the Atlantic and Northern Europe. The stratospheric vortex is still there. This is in the stratosphere, not on the surface. So although the stratospheric polar vortex is displaced out of the pole and into Northern Europe, that doesn't mean that the polar vortex is going to be displaced, in the troposphere over Northern Europe. So don't be thinking you're going to have a December 2010 when the polar vortex collapsed into the troposphere. That's the kind of thing that could happen after a split of a PV, but up to that point, we're not going to be overly cold. This is all going on in the stratosphere. Let's go through the GFS ensemble members, see how many of them, if any, are splitting the polar vortex. So we start with the control run, which looks like that. Again, very significant warming, but the PV remains intact, albeit displaced. This is ensemble member number 1, very significant warming with that one. PV is alive and well, though, up to the end of it. That's ensemble member number 2, which does get very close to splitting the polar vortex just there, but doesn't quite achieve it. That's ensemble member number 3, and that one again, very significant warming. We only get a really significant warming at the end of January, I think. Look at that one, very major warming indeed. But again, the polar vortex not split up to the 4th of February with that one. Ensemble member number 6 looks like that. So that doesn't really split PV either. Ensemble member number 7 looks like that. Again, PV alive and well up to the 4th of February with that one, albeit weakened and displaced. Ensemble member number 8, so that one does split the PV. See what we're looking for? We're looking for the 2 lobes of blue to go off in opposite directions, allowing those green and the bright colours to push in between. So that one, ensemble member number 8, does split the polar vortex at its roots, the stratospheric polar vortex. Ensemble member number 9 looks like that. Again, very significant one, but no split. The PV up to 4th February. That one. Ensemble member number 10. Again, very significant warming. Ensemble member number 11. Very significant warming with that one. Ensemble member number 12. That one splits the PV. Again, notice the blue colours being pulled apart there. So that one also has a split of the stratospheric polar vortex. Ensemble member number 13 looks like that, very significant one, but no split. Ensemble member number 14 looks like that. That's a really significant warming, isn't it? But again, not quite being able to split polar vortex, more over towards America, over PV on that one. Ensemble member number 15 splits the vortex. Ensemble member number 16 Very close to a split with that one. I think we can say if we go on any further, we will probably see a split because the two lobes of blue are going off in either direction there. Ensemble member number 17. Does that split vortex? Not really. It gets very close, but doesn't quite split it. Very significant warming of the stratosphere though, that one. Ensemble member number 18. Yeah, that's significant warming of the stratosphere, but no split. Ensemble member number 19, really splitting the polar vortex very nicely with that one. Ensemble member number 20, what's that one going to do? That one also splits the polar vortex very, very nicely. So it's inconclusive still keeping us guessing this, isn't it? Ensemble member number 21, major warming but doesn't split the vortex. Ensemble member number 22 splits the vortex very nicely. Wow, wow, wow. Ensemble member number 23, major warming, no split. Ensemble member number 24, major warming but no split. Ensemble member number 25, major warming but doesn't split the vortex. Ensemble member number 26 splits the vortex nicely. Ensemble member number 27. Again, that's very close to split of the vortex. Just doesn't quite come off. Ensemble member number 28 doesn't split the vortex. Ensemble member number 29 splits the vortex nicely. And finally, ensemble member number 30 also splitting the vortex there with ensemble member number 30. So it's inconclusive, it's still keeping us guessing. I think we say that the secondary warming that's occurring in the last couple of days of January, I think that will probably be enough to get us to more or less to an SSW in terms of probably reversing zonal winds. However, we are still waiting to see if we can get a split of the polar vortex. So gradually, slowly, we're getting there, I think. But, you know, it is a slow old do. This is how the zonal wind forecast is looking based on the GFS 6Z suite. So any of the green lines that are underneath this zero line, just here, they are going for a reversal of zonal winds. So there are several there, you know, that are going for a reversal of zonal winds. You will notice these up here, top of members, where the zonal wind is sort of pushing back up again. So there's going to be a significant drop in the zonal wind, obviously, through the last week of January, with these warming events taking place. Some of the ensembles are recovering the zonal wind by the, by the end of January. And they would be ones that are kind of going for more of a displacement event, I would have thought. The ones that are sending zonal wind into reverse, I imagine, are going to be the, particularly the ensembles that are splitting the vortex. But it remains to be seen, you know, it remains to be seen where this is going. One thing we can say is that zonal winds are going to weaken a lot from where they currently are, which is up here, and will be there in a couple of days' time. The zonal winds will be weakening a lot, polar vortex will be weakening a lot, therefore it remains to be seen how much weakened it gets, you know, and what happens. We shall keep you up to date, of course we will. Central temperature is continuing to decline, now sitting at 6.5, which is 2.7 degrees above average. That's provisional yesterday to the 18th of January. That will carry on coming down, I would imagine, by the beginning of next week. That will be into the fives. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles the next couple of weeks. On at London today. The red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London, starting off cold with the upper air temperature at the moment, staying cold into the weekend. Early next week, there is a bit of a recovery in the upper air temperature, going a little bit above average. But after that, it's quite interesting. In the closing days of January and through to the opening days of February, we have got a lot of scatter here. You will notice that several of the GFS ensemble members are actually going colder than average through those closing days of the month. The GFS 6Z operation, which is this big green line here, actually is a bit of a mild outlier, not necessarily an outlier, but certainly at the milder end of the range. And the white line, which is the ensemble mean, is actually, under the 30-year average. So we might, get a bit colder again through the closing days of months. That's why I want to do Ensembles watch tonight, really, see what these ensemble members are doing about turning things cold. I imagine they're bringing in the wind from the north, and the operational run, this green line, keeps us on the periphery of that and keeps us under the ridge of high pressure. So I would imagine that the closing days January will be dominated by how close that high pressure is to us, to allow the northerly wind that will be plunging into northern Europe to get into the west of Europe. But we'll have a look at the data in a moment. Precipitation-wise, going to be lots of dry weather. That is the main story, I think, as we go through the next couple of weeks, other than that we're starting cold. It is going to be a lot drier than it was earlier on in the winter. It looks like the wettest phase of this winter is probably past us now. Famous last words. Snow row, looks like that. No snow for London in the next week, 10 days. Possibly a few snow spikes there at the end of January into the beginning of February, but not that many of them. Temperature anomalies, summer 19th, 27th January, going to be colder than average in most parts of the UK, but Ireland is seeing a slight recovery in the temperature. And precipitation anomalies from 19th, 27th January can be drier than normal. Latest wind map from urbannullschool.net shows that we continue to bring down northerly winds. Look at this, northerly winds continue today, but we have got some milder air waiting in the Atlantic through here. That will be gradually struggling to get in over the next few days. This is how the latest UK Met Euro run, looking for midnight on Sunday, though under high pressure, still probably quite cold for England and Wales on Sunday, milder, though with southwest winds, Scotland and the Northern Ireland. Into next week, going to be quite a bit dry weather around as well. This is what I'm talking about with being on the periphery, so you will notice that by midnight next Thursday, colder air is beginning to push southwards into Scandinavia. We're close to this ridge of high pressure, so those ensemble members that are turning colder in closing days of January, I imagine they're taking the high pressure further out to the west and allowing the northerly to come in, whereas the milder ensemble members are keeping, the northerly on the other side of the North Sea. I would imagine that's what's going on, but we will go through the GFS ensembles tonight and have a look with Ensembles Watch. Not live, just as a video upload. I can't. Looks like that again. High pressure will be dominating from Wales on Saturday to Sunday with low pressure further northwest. Mild for Scotland, Northern Ireland, cold for England and Wales. Into next week, generally turning milder for all of us. But the end of the week, we're just on the periphery again of those northerly winds under this area of high pressure, keeping it mainly at bay to our north and east. For GFS midnight run, again, it looks like that. Strong anticyclonic influences through next week, so a lot of dry weather to come. Not overly mild, but not that cold either, just probably quite close to average, really, with the temperature. The high pressure vest goes on into the closing days of month. Start of February takes that high pressure more towards Scandinavia, begins to bring in a bit of an easterly wind there. So maybe going a little bit colder there in early February with the GFS midnight run. The GFS 6F, which we know becomes one of the mildest options, looks like this. Again, lots of high pressure domination through next week, bringing loads of dry weather. Cold air is into the far northeast of Europe, but we're a long way from it on the 6F run. And later on, we go into more Atlantic-driven type pattern with more of a west-south-westerly setting up for early February. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. Why not drop a comment and let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. We thank you so much everyone for doing that. GM again has high pressure dominating through much of next week. Just on the periphery of that northerly, but over the other side of the North Sea there. A little bit more of a northerly by day 10, 29th of January. So that could be bringing some quite cold air down the east coast by that point. Again, it's how far west and north we can get this area of high pressure that would be determining where, where that northerly pushes down into. And then the ECM and WF looks like that. High pressure will be dominating weather through much of next week, although there's an area of low pressure midweek. The other models don't really show that, but area of low pressure brings something a bit more unsettled around the middle part of next week. But fundamentally, high pressure is the driving factor with the weather, with the ECM for the next week to 10 days. This is my precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from meteo.com. There will be a lot of dry weather coming up over the next few days. What rain there is mostly in the north and in the northwest. A little bit more unsettled around the middle of next week with some outbreaks of rain pushing through. Some that could turn a bit wintry actually. And then back into mostly dry weather really as we move up towards day 10. Now, the options on the table within the ECM ensembles have not updated at the Icelandic Met Office. Again, today, unfortunately, I don't know what's happened. They've been missing for over a week now, though this has happened in the past. They normally come back in the end, but for now, we haven't got them. However, I have pulled them off the ECM WF.INT website today, because it's been a long time since I had a look at the clusters. So, these are the options on the table within the ECM ensembles for day 10 from ECMWF.INT. We have got 18 members of the ECM ensembles with high pressure dominating at day 10 across much of northern West Europe. It's going to be mostly dry and settled. We've got 17 that have high pressure just a little bit more to our west, and so that will allow something a little bit cooler, maybe colder, to be coming in from a northeasterly direction. And then we've got 16 just here with high pressure a little bit more towards the south. That's going to be a relatively mild option, especially so for more northern areas. It's a very anticyclonic signal at day 10, of course. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. This will get us to the 3rd of February. 22 members of the ECM ensembles have high pressure to the south. Low pressure is to the north. So still from the south, a lot of dry weather. Most areas looking mild there as we begin February. We've got 19 members of the ECM ensembles here, with more in way of low pressure, so that's going to be a wetter, more unsettled scenario, will be mild. And then we've got to 10, 10 just here with low pressure in off the Atlantic, but also digging into central parts of Europe, higher pressure to our northeast, around Svalbard, for example, which is sending these low pressures and jet stream a little bit further south. So very unsettled with this, but probably a bit colder. And not all that far from getting wind into the east if these zones of low pressure and jet stream could go further southwards. Lastly, we have a look at CFSV2. These are 500 millibar high tolerance broken down into week periods. The first week period will take us from the 19th to 25th of January. The coming week is dominated by high pressure, sitting over and to the northeast. Low pressure across southern Europe, winds in from a rather chilly, rather cold easterly direction there. Week 2 will be the 26th of January to the 1st of February. High pressure is to our north. Low pressure is to the south. That will keep the generally cold weather going, I would have thought, with winds in from the east. Then we go through to week 3, which is the 2nd to the 8th of February. Low pressure back in off the Atlantic, turning milder, wetter and windier, although it does have high pressure around Greenland, so we're not all that far from cold air continuing. And then week 4, look at week 4. We go through to the 9th to the 15th of February. High pressure strengthens to our northeast. Low pressure gets pushed southward. That should get wind back into the east again. Maybe going cold into the 2nd week of February. That's 4 weeks away. It's a big change what the CFS has been forecasting in recent days. So I would suggest that's probably not going to be, won't be seen again, when we look at CFS tomorrow for JMA Friday. Probably an outlier within the CFS, but it does look so. This particular CFS run has been colder again as we progress through February. We shall see. Right, if you've enjoyed the video, please do you like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Why not drop a comment? Let us know what you think about this and all of our videos. And don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. Ask them to subscribe as well. And we'll get to 15.4k. And then we'll push on to our ultimate target, which, of course, is 16k. Right, so I think I'll do Ensemble's Watch a little bit later on. So that will be coming up that might be quite late. I may delay it and try to get in the ECM stratospheric update, for the next 6 weeks. That will be updating between 8 and 8:30 this evening. So I'll see. That's a little bit late, though, to be releasing a video. But there will be Ensembles Watch coming up at some point this evening. Tomorrow, we're going to have a 6 a.m. upload. We'll have Jeremy Friday. We'll have a 10 to 14 day. And if that wasn't enough, we will have a live stream. We'll have our Friday live stream at 10:30. So I shall see you for that. Well, you enjoy the rest of your Thursday afternoon. And for this video, that's all for now. And thanks for watching.